Hello, everyone.
I'm Avital,
I'm Jason.
and this is RPG. Why? It's funny. This is RPG story time. Also, I did not get a tattoo. This is fake.
Yep. It's very, very. This is a post-PopCon RPG story time.
Yep, I was cosplaying Dean Winchester yesterday.
Yep. I was resting because I didn't feel well,
But he was there the rest of the convention, so. It's good.
and it was great. It was great to be there. It was great to see people again. It was great to be at a convention again. That was super awesome.
First con back after more than a year. Because my last one was February. Yours was probably before that.
Mm.
It was good. It was absolutely lovely. Like, oh man. Anyways,
Let's try where we left off.
we left off right at the kind of end of the trial after Rasha had talked with like Ravin
That's right.
and Stanyek about the fact that she was god-blooded now.
That's right. And the inevitables came and were like, problems. Okay. Yeah.
You broke the time rules.
Yep. And other people had
You
stuff to
broke
deal
our
with.
deal.
But you didn't, and some other people approached you guys, were like, hey, so we got something we need to talk about.
Yes. Specifically, the professor.
Mm-hmm.
Who some of the Oh! Thank you very much for subscribing. Is it MC Hitman? I'm not certain. But thank you so much. Hi.
McChitman.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. But yeah, so my character Hitman works. Awesome. Thank you, Hitman. So I lose my train of thought so easily. So
The professor.
the professor, even though some of the group, so Rasha and all the people that went on the dragon quest, some of the others in the group may have had some not great feelings toward the professor because they felt like he betrayed them.
Which was not really the case.
Oh yeah, you were the guy in the Bebop cosplay.
Yeah,
at the
man.
Established Facts booth. Awesome.
Pleasure.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for joining us.
Thank you very much. But yeah, some of the other characters thought that the professor betrayed them, but Rasha realized that they were all just played by Lout.
Yep.
Lout's a really old, ancient
Chess mastered.
shadow dragon. He's very powerful and very smart, very intelligent. So it's kind of hard.
To blame somebody who also was put in the same position you were.
Even though he was like kind of working for Lout, he still was also played by Lout.
Oh yeah, completely.
So.
Bad guys do bad guy things.
Yeah,
That's how it
happens.
works.
It happens. But the professor came and talked to Gravin and Stanyek, and I was there, and
The other
some of the other people
demigods, godlings, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, it was pretty much the godlings, right? Yeah, it was.
Because the people who,
And
was.
So the professor had gone on this crazy, just insane mission that it's a miracle that he came back from. He and like a group of several other people had transported to one of the Illithid like motherships, or they're big like city-sized ships.
Yeah.
They're like, and there was several of those coming towards Naboria.
They were called Illithid progenitors.
Yeah, the progenitors. There were several of them on the way, and he and a group of others teleported to one of them to try and find out some information. They didn't really find out that much information, except for the fact that on this one ship, just on the actual mission.
Yeah, true.
But like on this one ship, there was just so many Illithid and so many ships And they only saw a very small part of the ship.
They were only on one of the many progenitors.
And they didn't even see like
towards
everything
Naboria.
that was on the progenitor.
And they quickly realized that they were really out of their element because they teleported somewhere. Well, it wasn't even teleport. They wished themselves there. Or no, they did use a scroll
They
to
wished
teleport
themselves
there.
there.
They wished themselves back, right?
No, they wished themselves there, and the scroll was back.
That's right. I think it was one of the way.
No, it was they wished themselves there because he put them in a
Yes,
a safe place
that's
away
right.
from eyes, and
Yes,
it was a very well worded.
So
wish.
Somebody had a cohort with the ability to use a wish every so often, and so they used the wish to get there. Then they had a one-use scroll to get back, and there were a bunch of people who wanted that scroll to learn that spell. And he's like, "No, this is literally our only way back. If we don't have this, it's a one-way trip." Mm-hmm. So
this was the only instance of this spell
ever.
Is interplanetary teleport.
And that's why they had to use it to get back.
Yeah,
because it can't transport you to anything that's not a planet.
Ship in the middle of space, but yeah.
Right,
so
that makes sense now.
They had to use it to get back.
So, and that is a whole story we can try to do on another time because Avital.
I was playing an NPC during that, and that was really interesting. But it was fun.
I'm glad. It was intense.
Yeah, although it's funny. I don't know. I didn't feel the intensity like some of the other people that were playing NPCs seemed to. I'm not sure why. Probably because. Well, there's a specific reason why. Hi, Dad. There's a specific reason why, and that'll kind of part of the story because she had some reassurances is the word.
But it was a.
Anyways.
It was a perspective-changing adventure that, the professor had just gotten back from before the trial of Treskin, literally right before he was asked to prosecute Treskin. So once all that ordeal is over, he's like, "Listen, we got to put all this crap aside and talk."
Yes.
I've brought something back with me.
The big thing that happened, he captured an Illithid.
Not just any
Illithid. This was like the second in command of this Illithid progenitor. And they captured him and brought him back. And if you know anything about Illithid mess with the mind, so he was brought back unconscious and then immediately turned to stone. Well, before he became conscious, he was turned to stone.
Yes.
So that was why, at the moment, it was safe. And I think he was in someone's bag of holding or something. I don't even remember.
Oh, Laufweir had him.
Lout had him, yes. Laufweir had him. Obviously, he did.
To do what he does to things. So you guys ended up going to... Nabia's, correct?
Yeah, we ended up in Duwadna's Grove, because...
So from Partagas...
Duwadna could, speak with stone and stuff like that. But yeah, we were on that island, and then we went up here...
To Talaran.
Which is where,
the Archdruid, Duwadna...
he's got the Hidden Grove.
Rules over the Hidden Grove of Talaran. Well, he's the entirety of this nation's, spiritual leader. And he's earned that over many times. It was my cousin's character that he played from level 1 and gained, all of this respect and power and whatnot through role-playing over time. 15 years of it, to be exact.
Yeah, this campaign went on for 15 years, and I played for the last 3 of them. So it was a bit intimidating coming in, to the beginning, at me starting at, a level, 13 character, with, all this backstory. But, I ran with it. It worked out.
So you guys got together and you speak.
So we all come to Talaran, and they say, "Yeah, you are welcome to come into the Grove." And so Rasha is there, Gravin, who is Hieratus, the god of magic, is there. Nikolai Staniak is there.
Oh, Lout didn't have it yet.
Yeah.
The professor still had it. Yeah.
The professor was there, obviously.
Laufweir
came, and he brought the Goblin King, who Rasha had just seen cut off, quote-unquote, Treskin's head, even though she knew it wasn't actually Treskin.
Oh, because it's after this that some people stay and do the whole who's going to lead the forces of the... I get it now. That's why you everyone back here. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get to that. I mean, it's not really part of your story
it's not
necessarily.
Really part of my story, yeah.
It will be mentioned.
So we come to Talaron and they say, yes, you're all welcome to come into the grove, but you have to get through the woods to get into the grove, and if you don't have, it's not necessarily an easy process. I don't think any of us had a super big problem with it, but for some people it can be. And the funny thing is, so Rasha is very fast. So as Jason was describing how we were all going through the woods, he said, Rasha's moving through the woods because she doesn't have hindrances, like nothing like causes her to be, what's the terrain?
You don't have hindered terrain?
I don't have any hindered terrain or anything. But he says, as she's moving through the woods, the Goblin King, who's, this half-orc, also god-blooded, even though he doesn't know that. Jason mentions...
Barbarian fighter.
He's very powerful.
He's a metal character.
Jason mentions that he's keeping up with Rasha. And so I was like, just for fun, I speed up a little bit. Jason says he also speeds up. He's still keeping up with you. I speed up a little more. He's still keeping up with you. And I was like, I speed up to full speed. And Jason's like, he's still keeping up with you. And I was like, just for fun, Jason, let's do one die roll. Since obviously our speeds are the same at this point. Let's do one die roll to see who gets into the grove first. And it was really close, but I won by a little bit. Just a little bit. So, Rasha gets into the grove, just before the Goblin King, and he's this intense, heavy-duty character, and she's this little, 5-foot-something human. And he's just kind of like,
It was good.
Okay.
I like giving those moments for villains.
He's still an individual.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. The villains are still people.
He still has personality.
Right. Good or evil, it doesn't matter. There's a personality there. And that's what I like to portray with any of the characters, no matter their alignment, is that there's a personality. There can be a character that is the most good person and does the right thing and they're just a jerk, Belmont. Or there can be, people who are terrible, horribly evil people, but you like them. Some people like Lauf Weirs, some people like Dorian Duval, things like that.
I don't know much about Dorian. I just think Loud is a cool character. I didn't like him, as a...
Yeah, Gravin got to know him a little differently.
But, as a player, I thought he's an amazing NPC, obviously.
Thanks.
And, you well played. Well portrayed, that's the word.
Thanks.
Well portrayed.
So that's very important for NPCs to have their own personality. That you can tell a difference between them when you're playing them. Specifically for players, the players are always going to be their characters. Generally, unless you're doing a side quest where they get to choose NPCs to play because it's something specific for a character.
Which not everyone does that, but he does, and
right.
It's fun.
Thanks. But for the NPCs, general townsperson, whatever. But if there's someone important into your story, or someone becomes important to your story, remember that personality you had and carry that personality forward so it's genuine, and that when the characters interact with them, they're like, oh yes, this familiar person that we know will act in a certain way. That's very important as a storyteller to keep. Extremely important for continuity of your story as well.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we all get into the grove, and the professor reveals what looks like a stone statue of an Illithid.
I got a thing, guys. Whoomp. Ha! So everyone's like, why is that here?
Illithid
it's stone.
Illithid are not fun to look at either, honestly.
They're ugly.
If you don't know what Illithid look like, and you know Doctor Who, think of Ood, but scarier and creepier.
Longer tentacles.
The tentacles
are not holding anything in their hand. As well,
Thanks for the follow, Dom.
They can think at you and harm you.
Oh yeah.
They don't speak. It's all telepathy. You hear it in your mind. You can't help it.
Yeah. They don't have a visible
Their mouth is what they eat with, and they eat brains.
Yeah.
And they're all seromorphs, which means they don't breed. A seed is implanted in any other humanoid's brain, and it becomes an Illithid. So they're a horrible, horrifying creature that is one of my favorite villains, which is why they were the main, the final villain of the whole.
The final.
Because they're some of the most terrifying creatures ever made in D&D.
Yeah. Anyways,
I should forget who initially made the Illithid. I don't know if it was Gygax or not. I don't think it was.
I don't know.
But awesome. They're awesome creatures. Really good villains. Anyway, so one is there in stone form. And the party is trying to decide what they're going to do and how can we talk to this. And the professor wanted to bring it here because he had other relations with Duadan in the past and knew that the Archdruid, who is also a godling, can speak to stone with a spell called Stone Tell. And so he begins to do so. And the Illithid can't do anything back to him. He can't use his powers. It's stone. But what?
Well, they don't start talking to him until they do the.
Yeah. Well, right. I mean, we'll go for it then.
Well, I don't really know. I just know that what's written down. I like.
Yeah.
Anyways, so they didn't know how long this process would take, and they wanted to get as much information out of this Illithid as possible, but there's very little time left before the invasion happens, before they get to Naboria. Very little time, less than a month at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the night of Hieratis' blessing is when they were supposed to arrive, and that was less than a month away.
Yeah. So they decided, because Staniak has those weird like time powers, that they were gonna go to like a chamber like outside of time made by Staniak, and any individual that was long lived, because they could if they needed to spend literal years there to talk to it. I think they did actually turn it back into flesh.
They did.
Yeah, and they said, and so Rasha at this point
in the time chamber.
In the time chamber, they did. Yeah, Rasha at this point was trying to not necessarily talk that much about the fact that she was god-blooded. So she also knew that she wasn't going to be helpful with this. Being god-blooded, she's not gonna die like of old age. She's not gonna age like that.
Mm-hmm.
But she also knew she wasn't gonna be help in this anyways, and she knew that they would tell her any relevant information they found out. She would be told that, right? And so she says, I don't want to, do that. I don't want to spend that time in there. Staniak goes, yeah, but Rash, she's like, you're not going to die. And there's this whole, like, pause where, like, everybody kind of looks at him and looks at her, and Rasha, and Avital's kind of sitting there just like, Gravin, bless him. Gravin speaks up and says, he's like, Staniak is right. He's like, the things that Rasha has done will live on, past her.
Bluff.
He did well. And they were just like, oh, okay. Because
the Goblin
Staniak
King
is like
he's a writer.
And
a chronicler.
Does that kind of talks that way anyways. And so
Yeah.
But the Goblin King, Rasha knows that as he is a cursed god-blooded, the only way that he can gain power is to cut off the head of other god-blooded individuals.
Heads, and there's a bunch of them here with him right now.
He doesn't specifically know that. He doesn't know about the god-blooded thing, right? He just knows that he can sense power from them, and he has an urge to fight them in some way. Which, hopefully, at least for that little interaction that he and Raja had, I'm gonna say the race, like, mildly quelled that, so he wasn't, like, actively looking to fight her.
There's a little rivalry, and there's
he's
think about this. And he's also got Laufwer there, who will help.
Keeps
be
him...
like, hey, buddy, we're friends, right? Hey, yeah, don't worry about this thing over here. Just don't look that way. Just keep your blinders on, man.
Lout is good at keeping...
people's blinders on them. Very good at playing that game.
Yeah. But yeah, so And they also said that they wanted people outside the time chamber in case the Illithid got out.
Mm-hmm.
So it did not. And they said, all right, this is where, the limits are going to be. So Rasha went outside that. They started their thing. Rasha didn't have to wait long at all.
Yeah, it's like they literally walk in, and moments later they would just walk back out.
out.
But to them, they were in there for like hours, and interrogating and speaking with the creature.
They might have needed.
Right, but they did get information out of the creature, which allowed to. They learned basically how large the fleet was, almost how many ships were coming, somewhat of their hierarchy and how the Illithid work, because they're lawful evil creatures, so they're not just evil without purpose. They are a interdimensional empire that is attempting to rise again before the end of all things, which is also happening very soon. Possibly the end of all things. And it's not like they don't also know that, but they've come back to Naboria to steal this jewel. Also,
Jewel?
Well, there's some things that this guy didn't know that you guys couldn't learn. You could have learned on the ship, but they took off the ship, which is wise that they left the ship when you did.
It is.
But in the NPC with the professor group before this, but you guys learned quite a bit of what's actually coming and what to be expected. And he was not at all phased in letting it was like, you may have captured me, but your doom is sealed. This world will be ours. He knew it. And that wasn't a happy idea for everybody, but they thought with this information they may have had a little more better chance to survive. And in the end, he was turned back into stone, I believe.
Well, it says it was made loud slave.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because Laffer was like, oh, you think you're going to win, huh? Yeah,
You're mine,
so
yeah.
dominate person.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But yeah. And
You will now tell me everything.
They decided,
yeah.
after Cyril matched the Illithid in tactics, to make an international pact of nations against the Illithid, which is what was really necessary.
Yeah. And it was neat to see Laufweir and Cyril kind of forced to work together, because from the very beginning of Kevin's character, Cyril, Laufweir was the enemy. He killed Tiralon. He caused him other problems all over the world. He was the bad guy who returned from, nowhere, or returned from the abyss, and all this horrible stuff, right? Well, in the end, he has to work with him, because he is powerful. Mm-hmm. He is now the first flight in dragons. Yeah. He's a leader of 2 nations, is a master wizard, and Cyril is a BA tactician. He is a legendary tactician, actually, as the prestige class goes. And he has fought in many battles. He successfully led the forces of Nabiez and a couple other nations against Erwin when the Mad King Erwin the 22nd was attempting to become a god and rule the world for himself and cut everything else off and do crazy stuff. Cyril defeated, as an underdog, complete underdog, tactically, with his friends, defeated the Erwin forces on their home turf. He pushed them back all the way to Erwin City, and they ended up slaying the Erwin the 22nd, the king. And so his deeds are well known. So after this, Laufweir takes the Illithid, says, I got plans for you, buddy.
We don't want to know.
The Catalima, the Trade Kingdoms, Nabiez, Surtur, many nations are like, yeah, okay, we definitely need to work together as much as possible to do this, based on everything. We are all actually here to see it. This isn't hearsay. Based on everything that we have seen and the tactics that this thing displays, if even only one of them is this good, then that means all of them are probably this good. So, wow. We gotta change here the last minute. And they did. But again, that's when they come out. What does Rasha see? You see him come out.
I mean, they come out after what seems to her mere moments, and there's a live Illithid there, which is creepy as heck. And I don't know. And then they share the information that they learned, and then they're going off to do their nation things, and Rasha is
Different generals.
pretty much done with that at that point. Did I say goodbye to Gravin at that point?
I believe so.
And
I
Cyril.
think so. Yeah, I think so. I think that's correct.
Yeah. So Rasha talked to Cyril.
Yeah, that's correct.
And he said, you know, and Gravin, I think, and they said, well, just remember that you'll be a target, and you'll need to, you know, it might be better for you to be protected, like with us somewhere. And Rasha was like, well, but I want to be at home, and she was kind of like, I will let you guys know, but you know, she said her goodbyes. It was like really nice, nice little goodbyes. Gave Gravin a hug. The player was like, I was like, Rasha was like, she's like, she offers a hug, and the player, Phil, he's like, Gravin returns the hug. He's like, because he is a character with high charisma, and he knows how to do that.
I love Phil.
Even if Phil may not necessarily be a super big hugger, he's like, he knows how to hug. Gravin does. Anyway, that was funny.
Where do you go next?
But at this point, Rasha, who has gained travel as one of her 3 godly domains, is able to teleport. So she goes home.
As other generals and people are coming into Nabia to decide who's going to lead the whole allied forces.
But she knows, for one, she's not like a big leader in Rumedan, and for two, Rumedan is not involved in this.
Not in that way.
And in that way, in the big whole nation thing, because Rumedan is a conglomeration of city-states. Each city is ruled separately. So, sure, you're from Rumedan, the whole like area, right? But each of those cities on there are just ruled separately. Riyadh is where she's from, but where she goes first is to the Temple of the Sky. To talk to Azita Haka. She tells him about the extra things that they've learned about the Illithid. It's raining. Sorry. I like rain. She tells Azita Haka, who is, you know, a very, very large dragon, and the dragon that she is the dragon champion of.
He's like a red gold dragon mix.
He's one of the first
champion of Bahamut
dragons. Yeah. She tells him what the extra things they've learned about the Illithid, and about the Illithid wanting to resurrect their dead god, and that god-blooded are fuel for it, and that she is now god-blooded. She asks if she should stay and help Rumedan or go and be in like a safer place, like her friends told her. And he asks her, he says, well, how did you get here? And she says, teleport. He's like, did someone send you? She's like, no, I have that power now. And he's like, well, there's your answer. If you are in some sort of spot that you otherwise cannot get out of, then you have that option of teleporting away so that you are not caught by them. And she's like, ah, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But yeah, she also tells him about losing Treskin. And he hugs her as he can as an enormous dragon, like a big, giant, you know, claw. And he comforts her. And she chills with him for, you know, a little bit. And then she leaves the next day to pass on
this new information to the leaders of Rumedan.
Yeah. Also, Azita Haka said, while you are telling the people of Rumedan, the leaders and everything, while you are telling them about this new information about the Illithid. Also tell them that they are welcome to retreat back to the Temple of the Sky. You know, as a last resort. He's like, this is a safe place. This will be our last haven, our last stand, sort of, if it comes to that. Yeah, so she did that. So the first place Rasha goes is Riyadh, to talk to the Sultan. You know, the one that first brought her up off of the from being a scout, and then first brought her into being trained as a dervish dancer.
Mm-hmm.
She tells the Sultan and his council about the Illithid. She tells the Sultan, the clerics, and the guard captain about being a godling.
Which some believe it, some don't, and you know that's a strange thing to say to regular people. Whether they're rulers and whatnot, they don't do the things that adventurers do, right? So it's a strange thing to say to normal people who they expect abnormal things from Rasha, but not. Oh, by the way, I'm also a god. You know. Some people thought it was blasphemous. Others were like, "Oh, good." It just depended upon.
There was two big clerics there.
One to Zarathustra and one to the one true God.
Which one thought it was like blasphemous?
Gosh, I don't remember. I want to say it was the one true God, but I could be wrong. It could be the opposite way. I don't remember.
Anyways,
honestly.
One of them thought it was kind of blasphemous, and the other one was like, "No, this sort of makes sense," kind of a thing. Anyway. But the Sultan suggested that she not tell other people if it's a risk to her safety in the invasion. And that was her plan, but she trusts the Sultan, and he trusts her, and she wanted him to know.
This is also when Ragnar appears. After you meet with the Sultan and the guard and the captain, everything like that.
Yeah.
Ragnar randomly appears in Riyadh, asking you to help him with a curse. He's come to find out that he's been cursed.
Yes.
Because of an item that he has. And he still wants the item, but he wants to be relieved of the curse. And can you...
He asked if I could help, and because someone told him that I had...
You did. You told him you could... Well, you didn't tell him exactly what you can do, but...
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He did find out.
Someone else mentioned Rasha as a possibility. And because she has the power that is essentially like a miracle. And she says, "I'm sorry, I can only use this, every so often, and I, literally just used it to turn back time and save the world."
Yep. Ragnar was like, okay.
But they have, a really nice little kind of a chit chat and a last talk and a last goodbye, and it was really good. It was very much like, because he's this yes kind of a thing. It was really good.
Very Ragnar.
Very Ragnar. It was nice,
and you're both dragon champions also.
Yeah, we're both dragon champions. We've been through a lot together, honestly. She saved his life,
But he equally has probably saved yours a couple times.
Probably.
Especially when
Very
in
Ragnar. You are right. For some reason, I can't ever say Atomisk. I forget who that is.
Rowan.
That's right. Hi.
Hello.
It's very Ragnar. Very Ragnar.
Very.
So I think
he leaves. You tell him about Graven.
I messaged Graven.
Yeah. Graven's like, sure.
I'm here. Wherever Graven
he was home.
And Ragnar has teleportation now because of his one
Tarn Helm.
The Tarn Helm, which is a very cool artifact. It's not the cursed item.
No, that was actually his sword.
Was it?
Yes.
I thought there was like a horn that he got. At the
same time
you're
right.
As the helm that was
no,
cursed.
You're right. It was the horn. The horn is cursed. His sword was also cursed, but he didn't really find out on it.
Anyways, so
he leaves, and
Okay. I was trying to see
Yeah.
what the next thing to do is. So he moves on, and as Rasha is now a godling, she's able to have followers. And not that she specifically wants followers, but she does want people to know what to do when the invasion happens. And the people here know that some sort of invasion is coming, but they haven't been given, a lot of details. Because it's very
difficult to tell
normal people about
populace of medieval people that aliens are coming from the sky and are going to try to kill and enslave you and turn you into them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
eat your brains.
Like, what?
Your character's gotta know what's up, right, Asher? It was kind of last minute end game type of thing that it happened, but it's pretty cool. She kind of gathers some people who have heard of her legend in the legendary kind of market of Riyadh, right? And there's an ancient obelisk in like kind of the center of the market, and the funny thing is that it's like really really ancient and is related to something else entirely.
Mm-hmm.
But she walks up to the top of it to talk to them because she can just do that. The Borg are attacking, kind of. Kind of, but not exactly. Worse, the Borg don't eat your brain.
Yeah. It's kind of like...
And they don't speak to you mentally, and they don't, They're more just physical.
Yeah.
The Illithid are...
Everything's gone about you.
Yeah. No coming back from that. No locutus of Borg coming back.
No.
Anyways.
Short of wishes or miracles.
Right,
no.
wishes or miracles, yeah. So Rasha walks up to the top of this ancient obelisk in the middle of this, legendary market to talk to the people that have gathered there. And she just kind of says, I know you've heard of me and what I've done, and I know that you want, to follow me because they have expressed that. And she says, I'm going to be strong and stay here. Remember that as a last resort, the Temple of the Sky, which some people, people have kind of heard of. But
yeah, that's even a legendary place.
It's a legendary place, but
that exists. You're like,
it
exists.
She's like, it's in the center of Ramadan. Go there if it gets to that point. Type of thing. And
this is also where you meet, was it Farouk?
Was it at this time?
Yeah.
Because, we did...
No, it wasn't. It was when he came back. That's right. You're right. He sees you here, and he was your former instructor, but it's not like you don't have the interaction yet. You're right. You're totally right.
Later, I think.
So, you then go to Modena.
Yes. So, the next day, Rasha goes to Modena, which is the city where she went and kind of accidentally instigated the destruction of the Black Temple. It wasn't her intention. She literally was just there because...
I didn't mean to topple this evil temple.
She didn't. She was there because, a facet of a god, of the one true god, the true neutral face, said, there is another facet of the one true god that is stuck in this temple and I need you to get it out. And she's like, okay.
Well, you did.
I did.
At the destruction of that temple.
And it destroyed the temple.
I mean, that's okay. Nobody was sadder than the people who ran that place.
It was an evil god. Which god? I forget.
Azkar.
That's an evil god.
Yeah.
Anyways, so Rasha goes to Muad'Dina and is being careful and sneaky because...
She's wanted here. This is,
you can see on the map here, it's one of the two closest cities to Riyadh are both dangerous for Rasha. Yeah. Bagra more so, because it's like a interstellar hive of scum and villainy.
It's her planner, yeah.
And Muad'Dib is just like
A normal
hive of scum and villainy.
Actually, Muad'Dib's not really a hive of scum and villainy.
It's not. It's more just that
it's ran by
it's run by the people that follow an evil god, and they don't like her because she destroyed the temple.
They abuse their power. They are evil, but they are lawful, and they run the city.
Treskin. This is funny. I forgot about this. Treskin, who became a godling before Rasha, right? He was up there in the plains doing a godly thing, and, like, rubbed it in Askar's face, specifically that Rasha, that the desert wind had destroyed his temple, and then he tells her about that, and she's like, no one specifically knew I was there!
Yeah, it's true. Now they do. So, like, yeah, she's totally wanted in this town. If she showed her face...
She's like, why?
Game over, man.
But, you know, good thing, desert fashion involves...
Wrapping
yourself up to keep safe from the elements. And in this case, the elements are evil...
Jerks. Who want to kill you. For destroying their power base. Anyway.
Whoopsie.
Who do you run into here?
But yeah, she goes back and finds, there was a lady archaeologist who helped in this whole getting into the temple kind of a thing.
Because there was something in there she wanted also.
Yeah, she did get it, I believe. Yeah, I think everybody
definitely got almost, except one guy.
He got it, but then
he got it.
Got captured.
Yeah, his story didn't go well.
But this archaeologist lady who ran like an antique everything sort of a store, and because this lady was a good lady, and she talked to her before, and said that, you know, they had kind of set up a little bit of lines of communication between Riat, so she tells her, and Rasha tells this lady the information, and she says, and the archaeologist tells Rasha that the city's not safe for her. Salazar?
Yeah, the High Father.
Oh, the High Father is here or was here? Was there.
And was a jerk to her. Because he figured out that she had information about faces of the one true god, or had met them, or he basically came up on her radar, and he's...
And the professor was a jerk to her too?
Not the professor.
Well, because I remember specifically Jay breaking things in her store.
That was Salazar.
It was Jay.
Oh, yeah, they both were then. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Man, rude.
But she didn't know who that guy was, right?
Yeah. She didn't mention him. But yeah, this is Rasha lays low. So, and she will pass the message on to people in the city, right? So Rasha doesn't greater teleport, but just teleports out into the desert, and that's where she stays the night, and because she doesn't get another greater teleport until the next day. She's like, okay, you know, that's fine, I'll do that.
I'm just making music.
Okay.
I just made it up, literally.
Sorry.
I do that.
So then she moves on to Aludet. And Aludet, there's a wizard's tower there. They're not hostile to Rasha. I mean, and I think they've heard about her for sure.
Yeah, you went there a long time ago.
I went there
a
while ago. And
the guy who runs the place is a master wizard.
Yeah.
He's like, yep,
he understands.
I know. More info?
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yep. She has Aludet. She speaks with Master Abudin. And he does allow me also to speak to the people. Mm-hmm. So I talked to the crowd like I did in Riat, and I gained some more followers. Mm-hmm.
You also hear another tale about...
Yeah, I heard again about Salazar. His antics here. Strange tales of him murdering and stealing from the temple of Zarathustra, which is the Rumidani god of magic. And Rasha's just like... I mean, she's met this guy but not had a lot of interactions with him, and she's just like, what?
Yeah, it seemed weird, but... Right.
I don't think she ever finds out specifically why.
No, not at all.
She's just kind of like, oh, okay. What is this guy doing? Like, is he alright?
But it's something that you hear because people like you and they tell you like, hey, this is going on. Know anything? You're like, I don't know anything.
Like, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I do not know anything.
So they're looking for this guy. So after that.
Yeah. So the next day, I go to Bahadina.
Poof.
To pass the word. And I approach the tower, and Bahadina is kind of middle upper part there of the map. In case you can't see where the mouse is, I'm never sure.
Yeah.
And I talk to someone that's the tower there, and he says Desert Wind. You know, he recognizes who Rasha is. And she's like, I have important information, about the Illithid. And he's like, step with me over here. He's like, it is not safe for you here. I will take your information and I will pass it on. So she gives him the information. And he says to not return to Badina and to not go to Bagra. And she's like, ha, you got it. Didn't want to anyways. And he says that he will do his best to send the information along to sympathetic folks in Bagra. About, the being able to go to the Temple of the Sky as a last resort and things like that. Right?
Yeah, that guy knew pretty much that Bagra was already compromised.
Yeah.
As it was. I mean,
was.
Sort of was. It was the...
It kind of was.
The Tal'Rai Scoth were in bed there, and not to say that they're part of the Illithid Empire, but they were kind of trying to get off the Illithid Empire's wanted list by helping them get Naboria. Yeah. So they, a long time ago, did things to control Bagra, and Bagra's been like one of the worst places in the world.
It is
from the start of the game that the characters never knew about, that had been just like single-handedly going downhill. It's where Drelok was from. The guy, the summoner that you guys had to
that we put in jail
on the moon, who returned. Well, returned.
He returned.
Or somebody looked like him.
Someone looked like him returned. Huh.
Yeah, and then after that,
the one time that Rasha went there, it was
they're all
practically
about
a miracle that she got out, because Gravin dropped her off at the gate with teleports, so they didn't know she was coming. So they were surprised that she was there. She was smart enough to not go into the temple there. And then Face of the One True God teleported her out.
And that's where you went and blew up the temple.
And that's when I went and accidentally blew up the temple in Modena.
Like, ah!
But literally, there was so many powerful players. They're like, the Desert Wind is here right now. Let's go. Let's get her.
Oh, yeah.
And then she briefly talked. She's like, okay, well, there's an event. He's like, the Illithid? He's like, yeah, I know. Like, the priest at the temple. And she's like, okay, bye.
Like, she dropped in when all of the slaver groups and groups of interdimensional evil people who were trafficking all kinds of things, when they were all there at one time having basically like a business meeting in a, like
League of Evil.
Yeah, like the Legion of Doom was meeting, right? What do we do about these heroes? And then one of them shows at the door. They're like,
where did she come from? No one saw her coming. We were watching the road, right? We were watching the road.
And that was one where I definitely had. That was one of the times where other people were playing NPCs, and like other friends were playing these. Like they knew these characters. Like, man, if she walks in here, she is screwed. I'm like, yeah. Let's hope that she does not make that mistake. And she didn't.
Yeah, Rasha could just tell, anyways. And she was like, nah, I'm not gonna.
So after Badina and getting the warning there, they're like, yeah, we'll try.
The guy there is like,
we'll try.
It's not safe. She's like, okay. So she teleports just out and then found somewhere and bunked down in the desert. And she walked for a while just because she can.
Yeah, you're probably still within the this area.
Yeah.
The plateaus and rocky badlands versus like desert dunes.
And she also, I think at this point she still even had like Treskin's Ion Stone, which helps with exhaustion or something like that. So once it comes to the next day, she goes to Asarudin. She tells Shlomo, uh, the person who she gave the rule of the city over to, she tells him about the info, and then, you know, about the Illithid, and then she gathers some people in the legendary market there and tells them about, you know, that they can go back to the Temple of the Sky and things like that. And she picks up some followers, and she stays the night in, you know, nice cushy quarters in Asarudin.
Which is, you know, Rumadan's eastern huge port city. Riat is its western huge port city.
Unbeknownst to her, it's already infected with Illithid.
Yes, it is.
They thought they took care of that, but they got, you know, one. Didn't get the others. 1,000 years later, this map looks different. Anyways.
Yes, it does.
You'll see that eventually.
But what do you do here?
But yeah. She talks to the people, gains some followers, and stays the night.
Mhm.
Then, it's about, trying to see time-wise. The next day, she goes to Karn Oasis. Karn Oasis, the lovely, lovely, lovely place. Karn Oasis is amazing. Karn Oasis is, I mean, literally, it's an oasis. And the people love her there. She's greeted with respect and passion. People follow her in, and she's welcomed as canon. She's like family. And she goes to talk with the Sultan and the High Priestess of the Temple of Miliana. And she says to them, she's like, I have some more information for you about the Illithid. And he's like, stop. I'm going to tell this to all the people. And she's like, really?
Yes.
You've told them all everything about the Illithid?
Yeah.
She's like, oh.
Yeah, we're crazy here.
Okay. So, the people are gathered, and she tells them all the new information about the Illithid, and the fact of, you know, that they can go to the Temple of the Sky, as a safeguard kind of a thing. A last resort. So then, she also, before she talks to the people, she talks to the Sultan and the High Priestess of Miliana, and tells them about how she has become god-blooded and the powers that she has gained, and asks if she can perform a miracle here.
Mm-hmm.
And the High Priestess is like, And she takes a minute, and she, you know,
Speaks with her goddess.
communicates with her goddess. She says, yes. So, she goes to the Temple of Miliana with the High Priestess blessing as a Fravashi, like a saint, of the Amatius Spentas. So Rasha...
There is an eternal flame
There
at
is
the
an
High
eternal
Temple
flame
of Miliana.
at the Temple of Miliana.
Miliana is the phoenix. That's her symbol.
Yeah, which is super cool. So, Rasha walks into this flame, because she's immune to fire at this point, because she is literally a fly. Once she became the dragon champion of Izita Haka, she was fire subtype.
Mm-hmm.
Which meant that those interactions with Celia were extra dangerous for her, but she never, thankfully, got hit with that cold ice breath.
So that would have been really bad.
Thank goodness.
Really bad.
So bad.
But what do you do?
Anyways, so Rasha walks into the flame, and says that, she's like, you know, this will help guard your minds against those that would seek to dominate you. And when you seek refuge, the flame of Miliana will transport you to safety. And Rasha, you know, she kind of performs her miracle, and the flame goes whoom and races higher. And then Jason added this, which is super great. A phoenix was born out of Rasha's miracle of stepping into the flames, and it goes off and flies in the direction of Izita Haka. and Carnoasis was blessed then by her, and so she miracles kind of the district of the city with mind blink, because that's one of her powers that she has, and then literally the people can walk into the flame, and she
without being harmed.
Without being harmed, and she specifically kind of put in
that the Illithid could not.
The Illithid could not, and like
people
that
could not either, I think.
That had ill
malintent,
and
yeah,
could not, and this will literally transport them directly to the Temple of the Sky. Obviously outside of Azita Haka's actual horde area, but so it will transport them directly there. And the Phoenix flew off to go tell him about that.
And then no longer exist. It's, yeah, and then there's an eternal flame there.
Yes, there's eternal flame, and
the Phoenix becomes
the
this.
Yeah. And Carnoasis was blessed by Rasha, and she spends some time there because she can.
About a week, actually.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about some things.
It was about a week so that you could do it again.
Well, no, because of like timing, and then I don't know when I
worked.
met up. No. Like when I met up with my guy, and like when I had time still to meet up with him and stuff like that, and like anyways. Because we didn't write down about.
Yeah, there was not quite a month left. That's why I wrote it down like this. You spent a week there, and then you went on. You were like, "Oh, I can do this."
Yes, but at some point in time, and I'm not sure when, because there was still some time left before the invasion, I met my old master. Remember, and it's not written in here.
It's after this. It's when you return to. It's at the obelisk.
Yeah, but
it happens.
It was. Okay, never mind. I don't. We never said specifically when it was, because I thought it was more than just a couple days, because like he went and did some stuff with me. Like I took him to visit all the places.
It may be a week before. It wasn't that long.
I know, but it was more than like 2 days or something.
Right. Well, 5 days is more than 2, but it's not a week.
I didn't say it was. Okay.
I know. I'm just saying it wasn't that long, and it's not really. That doesn't matter that much.
Anyways, she spends about a week in Carnoasis, which is wonderful because Carnoasis is like Rasha's like home away from home, kind of, simply because as Riyadh is her home and will always be her home. All right, but Rasha is chaotic good, and so was Carnoasis. Like, it felt like home, the moment she walked in the first time. Like, it's a wonderful place, and she's very sad that she never got to take Tristan there. She would have loved to have done that, but...
Yeah, he would have liked it.
He would have liked it, too.
But what do you do next?
I think we stop talking next.
Oh, but we only have a paragraph left, roughly.
But I have to talk about all the stuff I did with the dude.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
There's a lot left. We did a lot with the guy. Okay. You and I. We just didn't write any of it down because we did it in the car.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
I remember the conversation, but you probably remember more than I do.
Anyways.
This is why I write things down.
Yes. And you didn't. But that's okay. So, that is where we're going to leave off for this week. Because we usually talk for about an hour. And then next week we'll continue, and we may get into the start of the actual invasion next week, I think.
Well, but did you stream the actual invasion?
Yeah, but playing through it took a whole long time, so...
It did. It did, I think, a couple of sessions. Still, you guys can watch...
It's not online.
Oh, it's not online?
No, because it was just a lot of, playing a board game more,
Well, that's the way it was supposed to be that way.
Yeah, but that wouldn't anyways, yeah, so. It was just hours and hours and hours, so I didn't want to, just put all that online. Anyways, I do have a highlight on my Twitch channel of the Ascension, which I will...
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna watch it again and, write it down. so that I have that as a record too, written as well as the visual, sort of the verbal.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so I think probably next time we'll be finishing the story of Rasha,
Seems like it.
which that's crazy because then I don't know what we're talking about after that.
Get other people on to talk about their characters.
We've wanted to do that anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, and maybe the one shots. I want.
Yeah, that'd be good too.
That would be
The side
if we
the
could do
side
those
missions.
first, maybe, hopefully.
Sure.
If, like, I'd say like Phil would be like the most necessary person for the first one, for sure, and then Jay would be the most necessary person for the second one. If we could, at least Phil and at least. Anyways, thank you so much.
we can probably get multiple people on. We've also recently upped our camera game, but I'm still learning how to work all that. But if it works out and we can have multiple people, maybe it'll be kind of exciting to watch, to see different people in different places and being able to talk
If they're
along
doing it
with
over
us.
Discord, we do already know how to do that.
Yes, exactly. We
That's
can
pretty
do that,
simple. We
definitely,
can have them
easily.
video over Discord and have that in the stream.
Yep.
But yeah, thank you so much. This has been a lovely stream, and who else would come on? Honestly, we are willing to, like we said before, Rowan, talk about anybody about their character's story.
Yeah.
And then like tell the story of that. Like we did talk with you about that briefly.
I know. I've talked with Rob about it. He'd be interested too. I just, I know he's got a new job, and I don't know what his work schedule is. I've spoken with Phil about it. I've spoken with Jay about it. I've spoken with a few people about it. So some folks are interested, and if you are, like, let's work out how and when to do your character's story. And for you, Rowan, even if it's like starting from first level, I'm fine with that. That's a lot of material to talk about.
Whatever you want to do, we're up for it. We're up for it.
And we can figure out when.
Yeah, like we do this at a certain time on Monday, just so that I have a schedule. But we are willing to do anything at whatever times people need to, because I can nap. But yeah, it has been a good stream, and we've had lots of people, and it's been lovely. And thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for the follows.
Yes, thank you so much. And the subscribe, that was awesome and unexpected. I post these on my YouTube, which is also Avital Elizabeth. All of the past talking about Rasha's story are on there so far. I'll post this one as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you next week. This week, I am streaming on Wednesday, probably like 6 p.m., playing something. Friday is my birthday, and I am playing Among Us at 6 p.m. with a bunch of people. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then Saturday, I'm playing Minecraft probably like all day, and I'm going to try and beat the game. A special birthday weekend, big long stream. Gonna be fun. So I hope you guys show up for some of those. But thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you all later. Bye.